Welcome to Module 3. In Module 1, we spoke about Power BI interface, how to install Power BI. And in Module 2, we spoke about understanding the data sets. In this current module, we are going to be talking about loading the data and also the data exploration. And but the first video is going to be how do we import the data into Power BI, right? So we understood the data already. How do we import it into Power BI? So let's dive right into that. So first few things we want to do is we want to open up Power BI. And at this point, you should have opened up Power BI. So what I recommend is you search your desktop. You just come here, so search whatever you're using Power BI desktop. I'm just going to open it up. So in one thing you need to know is that Power BI is for free, so you don't have to pay the enterprise model before you can get to use it. Sometimes it takes a minute for you to load up, and let's wait for it. So we're going to have something as simple as this. So one of the things you need to know is that I spoke about this. There are multiple data sources. So your data source is going to determine what you are going to choose. So you can choose get data from other sources. So first of all, let's go back to our data. So we see that in our data is actually right here. And just in means of organization, it's best to always name your data, put it in a special folder. So we see that this is a Microsoft CSV. This is a CSV file, CSV file, CSV file, this CSV file, and this is a Microsoft Excel sheet. So typically, let me just try to open up this data. So this is our fact table. So I would expect that you probably open up your data in Excel file. In a normal organization, your data might also not be in a SQL, might not be in an Excel file like this. And I'm going to show you demo if you want to load this data from a SQL stuff. But because you're not learning SQL in this particular course, so we might not go through that route. In an advanced course, I'll show how to use SQL for that. So we know this is our data. So it says this is CSV file, and the data dictionary is and it's an Excel. It's the data dictionary is it's an Excel file, but we are not loading in data dictionary. So this is data dictionary. And so this is that about that. This data dictionary. This is data that describes the data. But let me make another scenario. Let me save this data. Let me save this data here. This one. This is a CSV file. Let me save this data as an Excel file. Right now, it's saved as a CSV file. So I want to show us what that is. So I'm going to save it as an Excel file. Just do Excel file, Excel workbook, and save. So that is, let me close that up. So we have to, we're probably going to have to, but let me see. So dimension member. So now it's a dimension plan here. So we're going to have to, even though it's named the same way, let me try to make this bigger. So this Excel worksheet is a dimension plan. So I want to delete up this one. So right now, this is an Excel file, and this is a CSV file. So what I want to do is I want to load in this Excel file by itself, and this is a Microsoft Excel. So I click on this Microsoft Excel workbook because that is an Excel file. So if I come to where my stuff is, so this is where the data is. Under this data, do we see that I am not seeing my other data sources? So all I am seeing is the dimension data, the Excel file. So if I change this right here to all files, it's going to bring it up. But look at what happens when I try to load in this. Because this is a Microsoft Excel file, but it's still like a CSV file. It's not an XLX file. So if I try to load this, I should run into error. And it will be interesting if this work actually. So it did work. On a normal day, sometimes it might not work. But that's just, you see, I had to do that, change all the formatting. But let's say you're right here and you're like, oh, how did I get this data? You could just get data from another source. So typically what I'm supposed to do, because it's a comma separated file, I'm supposed to choose this method. So yeah, if I choose this method, if it's a text and a CSV file, and I want to pick an Excel file, it might not work. So let me connect, and I want to choose. So this is a CSV file, right? So these are all CSV file. Let me CSV file. If I choose all files and I try to load in this Excel file, let's see what happens. It still did work, right? Eventually it did work. So looks like it's working. So it's because it was primarily created from a it was primarily created from an Excel document. That is why you see that. But typically, just know that, just in case you run into error, if you're loading a text CSV file, it's just going to show you text CSV. So you can load in this, and so load in that. So most likely you will need to load them one by one. So let's load in the CSV file first. So the dimension data. So for now, normally you would want to do transform data, but let's do our transform data first of all. We can just load in everything and change whatever formatting we want to. So we're going to load this, and it's going to take up a minute, and sometimes you're going to see apply changes. Just allow it go. If it's a very large data set, it's going to take some minutes. So while this is loading up, but because it's not a large data set, it says we have this already, and you see that data will show up right here, whatever you name it. And I can always come and rename it. You can come here to name whatever, but let's just leave it at that name. So I want to load in a new data set. I'm just going to click on get data. So still on the home page, get data, and it's still like a CSV file. And I'm going to load in the dimension provider, load data. That's quite fast. This is not to the web. I chose that wrong. I'm just going to cancel that. So there are multiple data source. So let me choose still text CSV. So this is a fact. This one's going to take a minute actually. So it's quite a large data set. Okay, that went by fast. So the next one is if I see do to get text CSV, it's not showing me on my data set. Either I come here and choose all files so that I can see my plan, or I just decide to go back and choose get data, choose Excel workbook, or I can just choose Excel workbook from here, and that's just the shortcut version. So I choose plan, and that is that about that. So I'm gonna have that in a second. So you say it's not allowing me to click anything. So this is if you have like multiple sheets in the Excel file, so you don't have to click on this. So and you click on load the data. So now we've successfully loaded like our data set. So here is what can happen. So like I said, this is the report view, this is the table view, this is the model view, this is the dash query view. So if I click on this dimension member, and I want to see the data just the same way I saw it when I opened up in Excel, I could just click on the table view. So this is showing me the member data. I could come to dimension data. See, I'm trying to click on this in the top right corner on dimension provider, dimension facts, and I can come back to the relationship. But we know that we can't just keep analyzing this stuff. We know there is a relationship that they all have. The table are sort of connected, so we can analyze. So the facts table is a major table, right? And this major table is linked to every other table. One this particular module, we are not going to be analyzing the data first of all. We just want to understand the data just the same way and try to see if the data is clean. So from the Excel file, we've seen that data is not so clean. But imagine we want to get this data from a SQL server. Let me see if I could. So my should be, let me see, I should have like Jjay insights because I connected it You probably will not have access except you've done this before. And so that's my database name. Yeah, so it shows me a bunch of data sets. So, and I can load this right here. So that means you can load data from like multiple sources. So if I load this, but I don't need that, so we're going to take a minute. So I could come here to delete it. So just click on these three dots, and delete from model. I could also come here to say edit query. If I come to the edit query, it opens up a query editor in a different page. So this is what we call like a query editor. This is what I call a query editor. This is what we call a query editor. It's going to open up I click on the navigation. It goes to navigation, but that's not that about this. So we are not learning SQL right one. So I'm just going to delete this, delete from model, and it's going to ask me if that's what I want to do. So let's try to understand our data set. Because if you have a very large data set, right, you might not be able to do a lot of it in Excel, especially if you don't understand Excel very well. So we can come here and say, okay, what is the unique plan that we have? We have a lot of plans. So this is about 10 plans. So if I just say, let me see only the plans, let me see those that are plan one, how many are they? So we see this is just plan one, and I can decide to clear filter. You can also decide to sort them by ascending or descending, right? So we see it shows me all the plan 10 first of all. That's one thing you can do. I can clear sort, and also like maybe I want to pick a date. This is not seen as a date filter yet, so we'll have to look at the data type. So it's the other one is, let's say I want to see claim status, paid and denied. Let's say I just want to see only denied claims. So this works as a typical table for filtering. Just wanted you to be sure that you understand this. So place of service, and that's that about this one. So so first few things we want to do is we are seeing some missingness here. So come here, it says blank. So if you want to see how many is actually blank, yeah, so we see that you have a bunch of procedural code that are actually blank. So few things you start to notice is that you see that some things are already looking a little bit weird. Let me take away this. So if you come here, open up the data, you will see some data type that are being noticed. So this sign that you're seeing here, it's showing that this is a number, and that's why it's showing the sign. So we need to be careful when we start to put up stuff in our Power BI analysis, because there's a summation it does already. This is also showing that this is a date. So if you could drop this down to an hierarchy, so we can see the date hierarchy if you want the month, the quarter, the day, the year. But we're going to play around that when we start to do analysis, and you see the same thing for dimension data. It's just showing these are numbers, and sometimes the fact that it's a number might not mean that it's a real number in itself. So let me show you an example of that. If we have a case scenario, okay, I don't think we do have one, but I'm probably going to show you. So this is like a bunch of data types. So in the next video, we are going to be looking at if these things are in their correct data type. We'll also try to do some cleaning. See you in the next video.